And we're up.
There you go. I like it.
I'm a little bit nervous about today because I am definitely not going to fill the shoes that you have filled sitting on this side of the microphone. It's a little bit weird.
It's strange for me too.
Is it? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you need a pillow or like do you want your coaster back?
No, it's more of
Sure.
like,
Okay.
and it just goes back to like when I was doing sports, like you're constantly looking at things. And it's not like there's that many moving parts, but there are a few moving parts and you're just like, it's hard not to just monitor those things.
Yeah. Well, now that you have that lens, you're going to be looking over my shoulder being like, I need to fix that. I should adjust that. Maybe I should change this thing. Oh, I need to get, So I am so excited to be here. People are probably wondering who I am, but I am a huge fan of Troy and Wendy for that matter.
Shout out to Wendy.
Yeah, huge shout out to Wendy, by the way, the force behind who is Troy. But I am so fortunate and so honored that I get a chance to sit here and interview you. I know that you have played around with this just a little bit on some of your past interviews where you've kind of flipped the mic a little bit. I know you did that with Tori, but very, very excited that we have an opportunity to get the inside scoop on who you are. And my name is Megan. I have known Troy for a couple of years now. And when you started this podcast in 2021, I immediately was like, who's that guy? And what is he doing? And just instantly loved it. And I know, I'm trying to think of how you and I actually got connected and where we met. But throughout our relationship...
it was through Rob Hamilton.
Yes. Love Rob. He is awesome. We're going to talk about him in a little bit too. But, you know, I've been fortunate enough to, you know, share very similar passions to what you do. And that is storytelling and community engagement and really peeling back the layers of what makes our community tick and really the people behind that. And so I think we have just a shared passion in that regard. And I've been lucky enough to be a guest on your podcast twice, which is really exciting.
Do you know your episode numbers?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Was it 33? Was it number one?
31.
31. God dang it.
And?
50. No, because you're at, 117.
124.
Gosh dang it. I knew. You know, 31 and 124.
Those
that
are
is
your
awesome.
numbers.
31 and 124. I'm so impressed that you remember that, which just speaks volumes to the character and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into every interview. But in conversation that I've had with Troy, I've learned a lot from you, honestly, because just obviously a huge fan of the show, but also a huge fan of just how you approach your presence here, which we're going to talk about because you've created a brand here in Huntsville and did so in a very, very short period of time, which in my personal opinion, you know, based on my background and where I sit, is genius for an organization to be able to leverage leverage a passion and leverage a skill that is not probably very typical for someone with your background, with the company that you're with and getting the support to be able to create something where they could build their brand alongside what you're doing, which is genius to be able to do that. And talking about Mantech, with the company that you work with. So, as we have talked a lot, I asked Troy, I think during our last one about, I would love to interview you sometime because you're such a great interviewer. And so here we are.
Here we are.
I know. So I'm hoping that you're just as a little bit nervous as I am, which is very weird because you're my friend.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you put so much time and effort into each interview and you really, again, do your due diligence beyond just a traditional prep, which is something that I just find so fascinating. So how does it feel to be a guest on your own show?
I mean, it's different. I mean, it's nice in a way that I didn't have to spend 10 hours preparing and thinking about
You didn't? Wait a minute.
It's more of like, hey, I'm going to see the other side of it where I don't give my guests, I don't give them questions in advance, right? I'm prepared and we're going to talk. So it's more of like just anticipation, like, ooh, I wonder how this is going to go.
Right.
And I wonder what Megan's going to ask me. And I hope I give good answers. If anything, one of my big weaknesses is sometimes I like to give context and background before when I give an answer, because even if I just give an answer to, like, sometimes you might be like, yeah, but why? Mm-hmm. So I'll just paint this picture, but sometimes I go a little too far with that.
But context is important, and you do a good job of really giving that, which I think lends a greater understanding of your perspective and kind of where you're coming at it from. So
but now I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay. So no prep work on your side. Okay. But I did all the prep work here. So no problem.
I mean,
there.
I may have thought through like questions you might ask me that I've probably attempted to answer before.
Yeah.
And we're all our own worst critics, and I didn't handle it well. Like I didn't answer it as succinctly or descriptively as possible.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that in preparation for this discussion, I did not listen to all
all of them,
130 plus interviews.
Yeah.
I did not do that, but I have skimmed several of them and have gone through and listened to several of them.
Okay.
And I'll share with you a little bit offline too, if you're interested. But we're actually going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to talk about AI and just storytelling and the rise of technology and all sorts of different things. And so I want to I want to share with you a little bit about how I used that in preparation for some of this, because it was very interesting just in the experience with that. So I think first things first, a lot of people who have had the opportunity to really tune in and listen to your podcasts, you do a fantastic job of really making it all about the guest and really turning things around. But you also really pull in your own experiences throughout that. And I think throughout that journey, one can really piece together what that history looks like for you. But I don't know that you've really ever kind of dove into it in quite the way that some of your guests have. So, knowing that, your family kind of coming from the Virginia area, and you spent, 35 plus years there before kind of moving this way and, working in the intelligence and working for the CIA and doing all of these different things. But, and coming from a big family as well, doing some research around this too, learned a little bit about your dad and his history. And, it was interesting to hear that he was a musician and was very entertaining and liked to play the piano and do these different things within your family environment. And so, I don't know, I would love to just sort of hear a little bit more about who was Troy growing up,
Sure.
and what did that really look like? And I would love to hear a little bit about the dynamic of your family and the dynamic of your siblings and just sort of what that kind of day to day was. And obviously your parents, both fell victim to significant devastation at a very young age, and was something that, as a family you had to react to, right? Throughout the course of life, completely changed everything for you all. And I know, again, you've kind of sprinkled in these stories here and there, but I would love to kind of hear from your perspective and just really, how the Troy today came to be.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's I'll kind of tell the story, because I feel like when I was really young, I felt like it was so exceptionally unique, that what happened. And I actually called Oprah at one point when I was like 12 to see if I could get on the show and tell our family story. Because you hadn't lived enough life to see other people who had weird things happen or strange things happen and stuff. So, in a nutshell, I never really knew my dad. He left my mom. I'm the youngest of three from my dad, and he and my mom were having issues, I guess. And so my given name is Monty Troy By, and I think, and the reason I say I think and I don't know is my mom doesn't know from her head injury, and my dad doesn't know from his head injury. And so it's all just kind of hearsay from asking my older sister or someone, hey, why did they name me Monty? And was it to save the marriage, or was that always the plan? Because my brother's name is Brent, and he took his middle name's like my paternal grandfather's name. So my dad left, I guess, shortly after I was born. And then I guess that's why they call me Troy, right? Because and then they got divorced. And I was thinking, we didn't have I never saw him. I may have saw him once or twice at like a function, whether that was a summer picnic or something, and the families got together, and I didn't know his new wife, and she already had two daughters, and they ended up having a daughter together. So I have a half sister. So I have, just to paint the picture, I have a sister and a brother. And then I have two half brothers and two half sisters from two different guys. And so, I don't know. I just kind of felt like I didn't know that there was even this, like, if you were a child of a divorced family, that there was even visitation rights and stuff. You just assume, like, I don't see my dad ever. So
that's just how it was.
It's just how it was. And it wasn't like when I saw him, there wasn't this longing to, I can't wait to take you bowling or go fishing or anything. It was just like, hey, nice to see you guys. And that was it. And he was a coal miner and, just, I guess, struggled with his own inability to discipline his life. You know, and even though we have found out later when he's done a great job of going back through letters that he wrote my mom, they loved each other, and he was very poetic and he was very romantic. But he just, unfortunately, it wasn't enough to like put into that marriage, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so my mom got remarried probably too quickly and had 3 kids. And then when my youngest sister, who's ironically on her way right now from Atlanta with my mom, when she was 10 days old, we got on a plane. We left Utah because that's where we lived. And we were just going to go on vacation to my paternal grandparents' home in Virginia. And at some point I might cry. I'm just going to forewarn you when I talk about this. But so my mom, she had 6 kids. You know, she was an expert at giving birth. And so my sister she's, you know, an infant. We get on this plane and we're there for 3 days. I'll never forget. My mom wakes me up because I'm 7. So I at least had 3 years of kind of memory of my mother. I at least got to know, like, feel the love of a mother. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, she wakes me up. She was like, "Hey, we're going to go down to Monticello, Jefferson's home, and tour. Do you want to go?" I was like, "No, I just loved my grandparents. I loved being at their home. It was just this, everything just captivated me. And I didn't want to be away from them." And so my brother, my sister, my stepdad, and my mom went down to Monticello. And later that day, we got a phone call that this tree limb. So let me stop there. The year prior is when my dad had a motorcycle accident in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And he was, you know, brain damaged and severely, because it took a long time for them to get to him.
Yeah.
But I remember them telling us, and it was kind of unaffected because I didn't know him. You know, I mean, yeah, he's my dad, but like,
right, not as it.
Yeah, it's not like I remember saying I love you or, you know, I care for you. It's just he was just this guy, and I felt bad. But then a year later, here we are, and this phone call comes in, and I was there in the kitchen when it came in, and my grandma answered, and she's hysterical, and this tree limb had fallen on my mom's head as they were trying to head to the car at the visitor center of Monticello, because the storm had come up as August, and summer storm happens, you know, in this area too, right? That kind of that mid-Atlantic weather. And this tree limb fell and crushed her skull, and so they rushed her. Luckily for her, it was right near UVA hospital, and she was in surgery. And I didn't see her for that was August. I probably didn't see her till November, because it was unsightly, right? Wow. And so they kept us away, and I never saw her at all when she was in Charlottesville for several, you know, she was in a coma for many, many weeks. And then like we have to enroll in school. Mm-hmm. And then there's a part of the story I won't get into, but let's just say my stepfather was removed from the family.
Mm-hmm. How old were you during all of
7.
this? Okay.
I would turn 8 in November of that year. And so we just enrolled in school, and we didn't get to see my mom for a while. And the part that's really hard, and I've thought about this a lot, because I'd almost rather my mom died or my dad died than not remember who I was. Mm-hmm. And they brought us into the hospital when we finally got to see her, like in, you know, November or October. It's hard to remember. And she, at this point, it was in Arlington. They had transported her. She was in 3 different hospitals over like 9 months. And they lined us all up, oldest and youngest. And she sat up in the bed because her hair was starting to grow back because they had to shave her head and everything. And mm-hmm. she was excited to meet her kids, and she had no idea who we were.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, "Nice to meet you." And it's just like,
wow.
There's a defining moment in your life. It's that where you're just like, it was never going to be the same. You know? And it doesn't matter, like, I'll be amazing grandparents and amazing aunts and uncles, but, you know, I don't really know what it's like to have a mom and a dad that love you, and you feel that love, you know, like, it's just, everyone was like a borrowed parent. And so it had a huge impact on all of us, age-wise. Like, my brother basically said, "I'm out." He's 9 years old, and he just made a decision at that point that he didn't know his dad. His mom was probably never going to know his mom if she even lived. And he moved out early. He just detached himself from the family, and that hurts because of all the stuff that I do, this is what he and I share in our mind.
Yeah.
My dad was a very good mechanic, so he got a lot of my dad's brain. But me and my brother just never really clicked, And then my other brothers were very young. They were 3 and 2, and then my sister was 10 days old. So my sister got to get raised by my aunt who never married. So luckily for my Aunt Kathy, she got to raise a daughter, and Ashley was like her child. And so we stayed there for 3 years with my grandparents. They had already raised 6 of their own kids. At this point, they're in their late 60s.
Wow.
They're trying to retire. And now they have to have custody of 6 kids and figuring out what to do. And so I was one that they tried to get my mom a home to feel independent. It was 20 miles away in Herndon, which is out near Dulles Airport. This is all in McLean where we lived, which is near CIA, actually, ironically. And but we could never all live together again. So it was me. I was always with my mom and my brother Lance, who's the next one, the next youngest. And then my sister was there until she graduated high school, and then she went to college, and it was just being Lance. And then at the time, my brother tried to come back and move back in with the family. He tried for 3 months, and then he left again. And then at one point, Ryan, which my younger brother tried, and we couldn't handle him, so he went back to my grandparents. So it was just this community effort of my aunts and uncles and my grandparents on trying to just raise us, and we never had a home cooked meal. My mom couldn't cook anymore. So we ate fast food every night, and even on Sundays. On Sundays, it was more of she would warm up something that she got in the freezer section, Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes or something. But we also spent a lot of time with my grandparents. She probably went down every day. Mm-hmm. She would make the drive and just drive there, and she thought she was living independently, but she really wasn't. And I thought I was the man of the house, but my grandparents there and my aunts and uncles, that sometimes I don't really know all that went on to just helping us to have this house and keep it clean and whatnot. But
you were
she
in
tried.
survival mode.
Yeah. So it's just a different kind of upbringing, and I loved school. I don't know if I was telling you in an episode where I just went to after school recreation because I enjoyed it. And I didn't want to go home, but when I lived with my grandparents, there weren't any kids in that neighborhood, and I just enjoyed being at school. And maybe it was to not deal with pain at home, and I just would play. And they're like, "Do your parents work?" I'm like, "No, I live with my grandparents and they're home, but I just like to come play." Yeah. Everyone else is waiting for their kid to pick,
right?
Waiting for their
and
mom
you're
or
just
dad.
still playing basketball.
Yeah,
and
I just was a sports guy.
Yeah,
and that's just how I made friends, and I thought I was good at it. And my brother was different; he was more artistic and stuff, and I just kind of forged my own path.
Wow.
So that just I don't know, it's a long answer, but I had a great childhood as far as they did their best to give us opportunities and do things. But I worked hard. I stuck to my grandpa, right? And I enjoyed yard work. I enjoyed being with him. And,
Your grandparents sound like fascinating, very special people.
Yeah. My mother's parents were amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Thank God for them.
Yeah.
What a blessing. I'm sorry to start off on such a heavy
note.
Right. I did not realize. I know.
Let's get it out of the
way. But see, again, you hear snippets of your story here and there, right? And to kind of piece it all together, wow. I have a million questions, but I'm very curious, and I'm sitting here looking at this picture of you, sitting next to your grandson on the couch, you drinking a Diet Coke.
Wendy took that picture.
Yeah, that's adorable. And, one of the things that, and I'll be honest with you, I think for those that don't know, Troy's podcast studio is in the upstairs bedroom of his home. And so when you come over here, you meet Wendy. She's part of the welcoming committee initially. I met your cat first and foremost.
Dixie was out there.
Yeah, I've had a chance to meet your kids as I've been here and scare the crap out of your grandson last time I was here. I don't know why babies typically like me, but not that day. But it's very clear to me that you are a family guy. That has been something that you have worn proudly on your sleeve from day one. And looking at this picture, I can tell how important family is to you. And hearing that story only further compounds that, and really, just deepens that trait about you. That is very admirable and forthcoming in everything that you've done. So for what it's worth, it's very clear that that's something that's a priority for you now and, with the rest of your family. So I'd be curious, without, going too far deep into things and getting too personal, that upbringing is one that, holy cow, most people will never, thank God, have the opportunity to experience, right? And maybe until later in life. And just the situation of being young and having, your 9-year-old brother sort of check out, right? Even at a very young age, what that does in itself to that relationship is one thing, let alone all of the other factors where you're just trying to survive, I would be curious to just hear about how that has sort of woven the fabric of where you sit today, not only as a father, but as a grandfather and as a husband, and you know what I mean? And really, what are some of those things that stand out to you that you think has always become sort of an internal ethos that you live by?
Yeah. One from, I have a lot of chips on my shoulders, right? We got married young. And so I was 22 when he was 21. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, it's too young." I was like, "Well, I'm going to prove it to you." And so, my dad, I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me, but I got $10 total in my life from my dad, $10. And my mom, when I was 16, I was a good athlete, but it was like team pictures for like baseball, like my baseball team in high school. And I was like, I was working somewhat. I would work during certain seasons, and then, then it was baseball season or football season. But ultimately, I only got to play football because I had to work the rest of the year. And it was just kind of like, talk about generationally and how you raise your kids. It was just kind of like, if you want something, you're just going to have to work for it. It doesn't mean I had to work for everything, but if you want spending money or you want gas money, you're going to take care of the car. Yeah. That's a whole different, I went to my mom and I was like, "Hey, can you give me like I need like $21 for pictures." And she was like, "I don't have $21. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, what if I choose package B? It's $14. I don't have $14. And I'm like, "Can I get just the team picture for $7? She's like, "Troy, I don't have any money." Because she's on disability, right? Yeah. Like we had very finite and stuff. And so I was like, wow, like, and again, I didn't have to, I wasn't paying rent, but I just took on this, I'm just gonna have to work and I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices. And I worked 2 jobs. I remember I was working 2 jobs in high school, going to high school. And one day I was like, and in the sense that I left school, went right to one, and I worked the next one the next day. But sometimes I was working 7 days a week.
Wow.
High school. In high school. One time the marketing professor was she was upset with me because I was tired, and she just came over and said, "What's your deal?" I'm like, "I work 7 days a week, ma'am." Because if I want to go to prom, if I want to do this or do that, I'm not asking for money anymore. There's no money. My mom, they've got younger brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I paid for my own college. I paid for my MBA and my undergrad, and now I'm paying for my kids' colleges. And so I have a lot of pride into there's no one that's going to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get scholarships, and I didn't do this, and I didn't go to the military because I didn't think I'd be good enough. I just never felt like I fit into anything. So if I'm going to be successful, then it's just going to be from me, my efforts. And of course, Wendy's a huge part of that. It's her degrees as much as my degrees, just as far as marrying the right woman to go through life, and say, "Hey, if you can stay home with the kids, right, I'm going to borrow money. I'm going to work through school, and that's our priority." So I think just some of that just comes from I just never felt entitled in a way, right? And I would figure things out, even though I'm part negative and part optimistic at the same time. There's that part of optimism that still kind of carry me through, that you can still prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And you can work hard, and you can overcome the fact that you didn't go to this school or that school. Because I went to community college and I was kind of embarrassed, but then I transferred to a 4-year school.
Crazy how that used to be an embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
Where it was if I opted for community college when I was in high school, my dad was like, "What?"
Because one time we went to church and we just didn't feel like we fit in because everyone was in law school or medical school. And what do you do? I'm at community college,
which is ridiculous. I know. Which
I'm taking a literature class, and but then later in life, I'm like the PM of this massive program. I'm interviewing people that went to all these schools. Like, guess what? I'm the boss.
Yeah. How's it feel now,
sucker? And I'm gonna hire you.
That's right. That's right. So I have a question for you. So you, I'm curious about just the different experiences that you did face, and obviously at a very young age, having to really sort of fend for yourself in a way. If you wanted something, you had to go work for it and get it. And at a very young age, that teaches you character building, right? That I think just most kids these days are like, what? Which, number one, you definitely have to come talk to Madison CEO because I think your lesson on that in itself is just, and again, not like, when I was back in my day, but the reality is that, I mean, I think kids these days, are just so used to not putting in the hard work, right? But I'm curious about, with all of that and given the experiences and the different challenges that you did face, what sort of was it that shaped your career path and really the path that you wanted to take? I mean, and I will say, the fact that you are, busting your butt young and paying for yourself to go to school, I would imagine there was something pretty that you were passionate about, that you're like, this is the thing I want to work really hard for and pay for. What was that? What sort of set off that light bulb for you when you were in school? Or was it a teacher that kind of expressed interest in something that you didn't see? Or what sort of sparked that for you?
I'm one of those people that, even though I'm 50, I'll probably tell you I'm still trying to figure out what I would like to do in life. Yeah. Right. I mean, this whole this is a kind of a manifestation of something I'm passionate about. Yeah. But I haven't figured out how to make it a career, right? Like a thriving career. There's when I knew I was on a mission for 2 years, knocking doors and stuff, right, for my church in Utah, and then I came back to Virginia, and 10 months later we get married. So there was an element of no matter what I do, I have to take care of Wendy and my future kids. And while I was gone is when Windows 95 came out and email came out. It became everyone had a desktop computer. So I was gone for 2 years, and I come home and I'm way behind. Yeah. The world has progressed. And so
when they send you access to the internet on a CD that you install on your computer.
You've got mail. And I just kind of felt growing up, what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't know. And then unfortunately, I just didn't think I was good at anything. And, and I had people tell me, yeah, you're not smart enough for that. Or you probably shouldn't do that. So I was like, I don't know. So now I'm an adult, and I'm driven that I want to be successful. And I was like, I need to do something in computers, I guess. Right. And there's all these commercials that were running similar to now. We're like, hey, you don't need to go to college. You can get certified and Microsoft MCSE and do this, and Cisco. And all these companies were really starting to take shape, right? Kind of pre.com, the .com era starts. And I just kind of said, let me just fall into that, and so ultimately I do get my clearance right after 9/11. I just felt like I didn't go in the military, but my grandfather and some of my family all had worked in the government. I feel like I want to do something that matters.
Did 9/11 kind of spark that for you a little bit?
Yeah, big time. And so, because I saw the smoke from the Pentagon from our building 20 miles away. I'm standing there and whoa. Wow. And we lived in an apartment not, further and closer in, and went to my grandma's house that day, and we saw planes, jets are flying over.
What a scary time to be in that area.
It was strange, right? Yeah. But I just kind of felt this desire to, I just wanted to do something cool, I guess, and interesting, and I just got my clearance. I didn't really know anything, and it happened really quickly because they were just pouring millions of dollars into the global war on terrorism and all the stuff that spawned from that. And the next thing you know, I'm working at CIA headquarters, and it wasn't the most glamorous job, my first one, but once you're in, you start making friends and work and building a network. And then I started getting into some really cool stuff. And I was like, and it was satisfying because it was very mission focused stuff that you'll never get to really talk about. It's hard to put that on a resume and make it stand out. But I knew I wanted to manage. I knew I was a good manager. Yeah. And if anything, that was something that at some point, what is it that I'm going to manage? Because I knew from my mission when I was I was a leader. I knew I was good at that. I had leadership stuff, but now it was a matter of building the foundation and getting some work experience such that you can be a manager. And that was the path I was trying to trod. And and then try to fit like, well, something along the way will fit as far as like the technology, whether it's networking or databases or I don't know, it could be anything that I'm a manager. But once I fell into the agency, then you can, and it's like any agency, you just the contractors are there to become experts of how to get things done. Mm-hmm. And the government is very entrepreneurial. The government, no matter who you work for, if you have money and you have an idea, you can like make something happen. Mm-hmm. And you can actually I just talked to the PMI NAC, the North Alabama chapter, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And kind of talking about how entrepreneurial other governments aren't like that. And I learned that when I was working with the British government. Like they don't just call up the Air Force or the Marines and say, "Hey, you've got this thing, we've got this thing. Let's partner." Like the U.S., we do that.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of investment and momentum around that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I probably chased the fun, cool stuff, and I followed government people around, managers who wanted me to help support them and do different things, and then ultimately that led to managing a really large program, and that was like my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, cool, I've landed here. I love this. I love like managing people and teams and fixing problems or customer relationships and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's like the high level? In a way that most people will understand the program that you ran, what does that entail? What's like a synopsis of it?
I guess in terms of, so it's insider threat. So you're trying to find, it could be anything, but what is it that's disturbing that mm-hmm. might be going on right now in our 50,000 people population, employee population that would be of interest to someone to isolate that activity, whether that's them committing espionage or trying to, sell secrets to this country or that country, or it could even be harm to self, harm to others. There's COVID and these events have a tremendous psychological and behavioral impact on people. Our goal is then to say, how is it that we can use technology and all this data that you have access to and all this activity that someone is leaving in their digital footprint and what they do all the time, all day. There are ways to then isolate and say, "Ooh, this is a problem." Detecting mm-hmm. problems, so it's a huge big data thing, right? When you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of data feeds and massive amounts of data, can you sift through that? Let's say it's even someone committing time card fraud,
right?
That's actually not really working. Mm-hmm. Would you, when you're the owner of a company, would you like to know who are those people who are ripping you off? So there's all these things. It just comes down to detection.
Yeah.
And that was all about detection. So we felt like you could tell us to do anything, and we could retool and reconfigure our systems to detect something of interest to an investigator.
Mm-hmm. What's the craziest thing? And I'm sure people have asked you this, in your role, but when I think about, threat intelligence and the CIA, I think of just these massive data centers, just mining data mm-hmm. and going through all sorts of crazy things. But when you were working with them, you didn't necessarily have the tools that you have now available, right? As far as AI and these deep thinking engines and all of that, or did you, or was it?
We had all the precursors to AI. So AI is a little bit of a marketing thing. So we've been doing AI for years.
Okay.
It's like cyber. Cyber is the same thing, right? At some point, it's just a sexier name. It's cyber, and anybody who's well, we've been doing that for forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, the components of AI when it comes to natural language processing and sentiment analysis and just data science and stuff the best of the best people they've been doing that mm-hmm. for a long time. Wow. Now AI can help you. But AI is never going to hasn't replaced the human yet.
Yeah.
You still need the human. So you work with people that they're smart enough that they're going to use common tool sets, mm-hmm. but then they're also, just because that's the nature of who they are, they're going to go off and custom build a few things on their own. That's when they really feel like they've got something.
Yeah.
They'll kind of go off on their own and use all their expertise and all their training. And a lot of times they build their own little other tools mm-hmm. To help them really prove a point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the constructs of AI have been there for a long time.
Wow.
It's math. It's just math, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. When you think about looking at some of these threats, and I would imagine they span across the board in a variety of different ways, What's one of the things that has instilled the most fear in you by seeing that? And maybe the thought is, if this were to take off in the wrong hands, or if this were to go, if we hadn't stopped this at this point, or has there been something that you've sort of seen throughout your career that is really legitimately, there's a sense of fear there that if it goes
Yeah. I mean, I can't get into it too much, but when you start thinking about counterterrorism, that's a good one, because it's obviously it's one thing for us in the English language and the European names that we come across, but when you start getting into Muhammad al-Farouk and variations of that, and there is someone bad that we were tracking, but there's also probably 10,000 people that have a similar name, and how do you know? Mm-hmm. It's just like when it took that analyst forever to get bin Laden, or all those people tracking that. Like, you have to be right, and so you have these tools and stuff that are helping you, but at the same time, you also have to have some other elements to, like, if you think someone's doing something bad and you want to arrest them and or whatever it is that really the right person? Mm-hmm. Those are, so I was involved in a lot of that. Is that the right person?
Yeah,
how
like
confident
validation.
Validation.
Yeah.
The other thing that's just scary is how susceptible people are. Like you'll just take someone you would never suspect. Let's say they're 30 years on the job, working at some agency, and you think, and what you don't know is they're acting as let's say it's a guy, 55-year-old guy, and they're acting as a 26-year-old lesbian online in this alternate reality that they've built, and you would never know it. And they just kind of compartment these things, and you're watching this happen, like in front of you, and then they're being taken by the whole Nigerian prince thing, and getting scammed for money, and they're giving their entire life savings, and they're draining their 401k and all this to, like, they're being scammed.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does that happen? And unfortunately, that happens a lot. It's scary how much it happens to people.
Yeah.
And how they become susceptible to it.
Especially the elderly people. Yeah. I mean, you've seen news stories left and right about that. I'm curious. Did the CIA make you more or less trusting of people?
It's less trusting. I mean, like, it's just like how many times you'll meet someone, what a nice person. You don't know that. Like, you can interview someone, right?
And you're the natural, like, oh, that person's great. Do you lean on the side of,
it's more of just being real, because I've interviewed, and I'll tell people, I'll interview someone 3 times, because the first time you're going to get not the right, you're going to get the fake person. Ultimately, like I want you comfortable. If you're a software developer, don't wear a suit that you wear once a year to church, maybe to a funeral, and you're sweating.
That still has dust on it. From
Ultimately, I want to see you comfortable in who you are. But I don't care if you're nice, like, because we've seen it. Like, that's what we do. We and actually we vet everyone that gets that on our old program. We got vetted by some other group of people to determine if they were suitable to work for our group. Doesn't matter if you have a clearance. Are you suitable to work here?
Yeah.
There may be not the things that, like, we can't, like, revoke your clearance and fire you for things you're doing or things you believe in, or that might radicalize you, but you're not working here in our mission. So it's you want to trust people, but at the same time, I mean, most of the time we only know ourselves, right? Even your deepest dark secrets, you probably haven't shared with anybody, right? You hold on to that. So it's just you've seen enough where it's like, everyone has issues to some degree. Yeah. And how are they going to manifest themselves?
Got to have a little bit of an ounce of doubt sometimes, especially when you've seen all of that.
But you also it can't paralyze you. You still got to move forward.
Right.
And sometimes people just do need a different fit,
Yeah.
And so you got to give them the benefit of the doubt for that.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question about the CIA, and from your perspective. And I know it's just marketing, so maybe it is just a sexy term, but there's been a lot of discussion, obviously, around AI and, like, oh my gosh, it's taking over the world, and there's these bots. You just see things left and right. I'm genuinely curious, though, from your perspective, where do you sort of see the CIA's role moving forward in how they're leveraging, advanced technology? I mean, to just fight the different quotes, the different wars that we are fighting right now, whether that's through intelligence or cyber or whatever it may be. Where do you sort of see the role for the CIA? And what I'm curious if there's something that in particular that has you excited about what's on the horizon for them, or.
Well, there's something called InQtel, if you look that up. And so the agency has always, it's almost like they have venture-backed certain companies along the way. It's called InQtel. Mm-hmm. And if they find something that's like, we need that technology, they will basically invest in that, and then they help them grow and then spend, So that essentially is where if you look at whatever they're doing there, that's what they're interested in.
Are they funding smaller businesses?
Yeah, that's kind of it's like a venture private equity type thing, for lack of a better term. And that's people know that it's pretty widespread. And then beyond that, they're bringing in AI, and they're using it. It's hard to say. It's moving very fast. I will say something about AI that they're pulling back. Because let's say you go on ChatGPT and you want them to do something. Well, as soon as you do whatever and you send it, that data is gone. As soon as you share a document, right, you've shared that. So you're going to see more of them pulling back, saying, I don't know if we really want to be working in the cloud as much. And everything we've always done was on what we call on premises. We owned all of our infrastructure. We didn't let our data leave our infrastructure. So if anything, they're probably going to you're going to see them holding on more to like data and not maybe sharing it as much, especially if you're using AI, depending on where that AI engine sits. Because then once it's there, there's no, controlling it, right? It's owned by that. So, but InQtel is probably the best indicator of the technologies that they're interested in investing in.
Okay.
Without going into, but they're like a lot of, probably just like anybody else, right? How can we do more quicker? How can we save time in certain processes and things that may have nothing to do with espionage, but just our workflow? How do we improve our workflow and those things and focus, to focus in that time on the mission where, humans have to be more involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So I want to switch gears just a little bit.
Sure.
So I know, obviously, one of the things that I know we mentioned earlier was, you guys moved down here. You started this podcast in 22.
Yeah.
So, but you moved down here in 21 and then started it just
at Christmas.
And then just not that long after. So, I want to just kind of start in talking about your proposal to get this podcast started. And I would love to hear the conversation that was had behind the scenes and your approach to, hey, we're moving down to Huntsville. I've taken one trip, told Wendy we are going, you fell in love with this town, which I want to hear a little bit about in just a minute. But why the podcast? Why start Our Town? Where did that come from? How did you get that approved? And you know what I mean? Just talk a little bit about why that and with your new position.
So if you go back to, I used to own this company called Western Loudon Sports Network. And so I was doing my own play-by-play for 2 high schools. But I was behind the camera, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm doing play-by-play. I've got a color commentator of cameras. We got instant replay, just our own little ESPN, if you will. Yeah. It was amazing. And then the other thing I would do is coaches shows during the week, because when you're doing a broadcast like that, you have to have something to talk about. The play's going to happen, but what happens in your next 30 to 40 seconds before the next play? Mm-hmm. So that's where you'll see when you watch a broadcast, they'll say, hey, we sat down with the coaches. The announcers will come in on a Friday for a Sunday game. Mm-hmm. They come in on Friday and they interview the players and the coaches, and they spend the weekend preparing, doing all this pre-production that goes into the game script and all this kind of stuff that to me just makes sense. This is what you do. So I interviewed the 2 coaches every week. And we talked about the last game and this game, and you have to build your storyline and all this kind of stuff. And I enjoyed that. And it was easier to do an interview than to do a game, because it's live for 2.5 hours, and you're like, and what's going to happen?
That's a lot. How do you fill all that space?
Well, that's why you have to do a ton of research,
oh
right?
My
You've
gosh.
got to figure out like, okay, have these teams met? Do they have common opponents? How do they do in the rain? Is it grass? Is it turf? Is it September? Is it November?
What's their history look like?
All that.
Team? I mean,
there's injuries, like all these things. And so you just like build I built like a little quad, and then say in the first quarter, here's like topics that we can talk about, and then the game, and then you have something about the game script, where is the game unfolding the way you thought, all that kind of stuff. And then you have to sprinkle in if they're upbeat, like, hey, coach said in the interview that they were going to run 80 plays today, so in order to do that they need to hike the ball every 20 seconds, and then, are they moving at that clip? Are they not, right?
Yeah. But
if you didn't do that research, then that doesn't do well. So I was exceptionally proud of the product that we did. And we did football, basketball, wrestling, and things. So I kind of sold all the equipment, not really the company, to one of my sponsors who had a sports bar, and he wanted to try to do it. And they didn't. And I knew they wouldn't be successful at it because it's really hard. And back then you had to pay for everything as a content creator. It was extremely expensive. So that was a very limiting factor. And even then, this was 2016, I think was the last time I did a game. Like Facebook Live may have like just been happening, and like I was doing everything through these private. There wasn't like this. YouTube's always been there, but nobody was streaming such that it was free to the producer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I still had equipment, and then I was doing for a church. I was Zooming during COVID. I was doing the Zoom broadcast for the church, and I just enjoyed I was using like 7 cameras because it was fun and I could do it, and I just went crazy with it. So we moved here, and I have all this equipment. I was like, I work for Mantech, and I know one person, Thad Forrester, episode number 5, and he's my buddy from our missions in Salt Lake, and that was it. And I'm like, but I'm now in this role where I'm supposed to be in market development and business development, and there's all these people that know this community and I don't. I should start a podcast so that it'll help me. I want people to not think that I don't want people to know that I'm not from here. I want them to see me embrace this and not be. I hate people who are like, I miss the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. We don't have mountains here.
We have mountains. I'm from Florida. They're mountains.
Like, just then go home. Go back to Colorado.
Right. Then go to Colorado.
Either you come here and you embrace your town. Right. Because nobody wants to hear that crap.
Yeah.
And so, there was this I need to do this, and then I didn't want to do a Mantech thing because I didn't think that government contracting is that interesting for me to do a show and do research on. Mm-hmm. I wanted to now say I think I'm a good interviewer, and I also really enjoy Joe Rogan in the sense of his or those types where it's just kind of open ended. He has a guest on. Yeah. Nobody knows me, so I'm going to be very reliant on the guest for a while till I get known, and let me just interview people because I think I can find something interesting with anybody, right? And that's just kind of where it's. And then I also had never done studio setup, so I was like, let me try. And so I didn't talk about my brother much, but he's been doing this stuff in Hollywood for 30 years. He's an expert with lighting, expert with sound, and all these things. And we've talked a couple times. He gave me a couple tips, here and there. Mm. And but lighting was always something that I wasn't an expert at, and I would struggle at. But I didn't want it to stop me from trying because my early episodes are pretty ugly. But the content was always good, I think. And so I just was like, I need to indirectly make it known that I work for Mantech and I'm here to do this job. I also just have all this equipment and I want to try because I enjoyed my coaches shows and I want to try not to be in front of the camera because those were audio only. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can pull off being the producer and the host and everything and kind of show that it can be done and cost savings or whatever. And then I just was passionate about maybe leaning in. Okay, I didn't get to go to broadcast journalism school. I'm now old, I'm 50. And so it's I don't know. I don't, if someone's going to take notice, I hope they'll take notice. Yeah. That I'm trying to put out a good product. Yeah. And there's a competitive side in me. I want it to be a really good product, right? So I'm always tinkering and stuff, and it really worked. I mean, now I feel like I know too much. I'll talk to someone and hey, did you know about this or that? And no, how'd you know that? Well, I've interviewed this person and that person.
Right. I mean, you get down to a lot of details.
Yeah, a lot of nonprofits and just all the economic stuff going on. Yeah, and it's kind of it just helps me. And then now even with like church, we're building a temple, over here off of Browns Ferry and stuff. And so I know, like, I've interviewed Mayor Bartlett. I've interviewed I know Paul Finley, of course, and I've interviewed Tommy Battle, and I have all these connections now, which kind of helps too, with just them saying, "Hey, I'm actually affiliated with that temple that's being built."
Yeah,
and thank you for helping us do that. And what a cool manifestation of this town that we are so supportive of different faiths and different people, and it's just it's amazing.
That's awesome. So did Mantech have anything like this before that they had done?
I tried before I moved here. I did a couple episodes with our CEO.
Okay.
And they were at the time like, yeah, we're not really ready to dip our toes in the waters of podcasts. Like, all right, well, you know what? I want to just do my own thing because I don't want it to be tied to that. And I don't want to be told, you can't do that, or you can't do that. Or, like if I want to interview Ricky Fernandez from the Trash Pandas and then interview you or the zoo, like I just want to do whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'll do my own thing, and I won't attribute it to Mantech in any way.
Yeah.
It's just, indirectly people know I work for Mantech.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, and I thought maybe they were sort of, a big cheerleader behind the scenes of things.
They're supportive.
But they're supportive of it, yeah.
But I'm also not interested in people like, hey, we should do a contracting one.
Right.
Or a proposal one. No.
Yeah.
That's not interesting to me.
Right. No.
Other people can do that.
Totally get it. Well, and I think that, with the business that I've been fortunate enough to work in for many, many years, Flourish, we work with a lot of businesses and talk about B2B marketing and, thought leadership and how to establish, expertise within your skill and all of this. And one of the things that is always just made me so happy, I don't know, for lack of a better word, was that you have recognized that first things first. It was, we need, let me build a brand. Let me get to know people. Let's do something creative, regardless of whether or not, there's been long-term support in that capacity, because it didn't necessarily align with some of the things they wanted to talk about. But you've chosen to create something that allows for conversation and community discussion in ways that I think has just really shown a great light on this area, which is just awesome, because there's not a lot of people who think about doing that. And obviously you've been able to marry your long history of research and investigating and really doing your due diligence on things, coupled with sort of that community, storytelling that you love so much, and with your sports and all of that. So it's just been awesome to see kind of things come to fruition. But I'm curious about, one of the things about Huntsville that you don't often find are people who are born and raised here and still live here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who were born here and left and then came back. But you and your family being a transplant to Huntsville, what was that experience like coming here? Especially, in the time frame that you did in a post-COVID world, we weren't that fresh out of it. And so things had certainly changed here locally. But how were you both received by the community, and what was that experience like for you?
Very well. Immediately our boys, Jason was halfway through his junior year of high school, and it was Christmas time. So immediately, we get a hold of the wrestling program at Clemens, and they're like, awesome, he can be on the team. We just got to get his hydration test. So he immediately gets into wrestling, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Dylan found archery. Those are important, that they kind of found their way in high school, for your kids, and, worried about the impact on them. Because this is the second time we've moved our kids where one of them was halfway through their junior year, and they have to change schools and stuff, right?
That's hard.
So
that's hard.
Bad dad, bad mom, right?
Yeah.
But no, this area reminds me a lot of where I think Northern Virginia was about 30 years ago, before it kind of went and boomed. Mm-hmm. And so just the industry I'm in, it's very familiar. This is not very different than Northern Virginia. And then I've talked to enough guests that, after the fact, talking to Joey Cece or others who are continuing to pull the thread. Hey, what makes Huntsville different? Why are they more accepting? I was talking to Kathy Finley about this, Christy Finley, sorry. And, I don't know, we're just different that way. And we've always enjoyed having the outsider. So I don't think we've ever felt any sort of opposition.
Yeah.
It feels like home, and I think we've just embraced it.
Yeah.
And that's even when we've moved before, we go all in on our new neighborhood and trying to meet people and not kind of holding back and saying these people aren't very friendly. We go and we frequent figure out what I don't think I've even been to Cheesecake Factory as an example, because I can go there anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
I don't need to go there here.
Yeah.
So let's go to all the places.
Yeah. Lost
And
Pizza.
Let's buy the Fow Wow design T-shirts.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Trash Pandas. You know, like I'd never been to a minor league game in my life.
Yeah.
You know, but you come here and you fall in love with the minor leagues.
Fall in love.
That's what they do.
That's what you do.
So yeah, never. I don't think there's been, and it's kind of a big enough town where you have some friends and stuff, but it's also like I can't believe the number of places I go and like I don't know anybody here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just so yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what has after almost 140 episodes, what has Huntsville taught you? I mean, if you could kind of sum up, you know, with all of the interviews and all of the people that you've chatted with, what is something that looking back has really surprised you that you weren't expecting with this venture?
I don't know if I wasn't expecting it, but it's just a reminder that, man, there's a lot of good people out there. And every person I talk to, it's like free therapy. I'll tell like Rachel Sullivan this, like sitting in that seat and talking to people and hearing their stories and what they've overcome, or, you know, you're like, wow, it's just neat.
Yeah.
You know, to dig into that and just knowing there's great people here. We love that it's more faith-based. People actually go to church and they want you to go to church, and they seem to, you know, we're a little kinder, you know, to one another down here. So that's a nice, I guess, extension of the South. It's not like Huntsville. Like sometimes people make jokes about Huntsville's different than Alabama, but it's not from that standpoint, right?
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't know. Like there's nothing that anyone's ever. I think this is all. You know, it's like this is the way I look at it. For those of us who've moved here, I feel like, in particular, if you came from a large market, if you came from Tampa or Miami or LA or New York, Chicago, whatever, we're all kind of applying lessons learned. We've all had the life that was consumed by your job and keeping up with the Joneses and not having enough time for Little League and this or that. And maybe that's just a function of just, you know, having to get through your 20s and 30s. And maybe it's just a function of those of us who are, you know, maybe you're in your late 30s, you're in your 40s now, and your kids are a little older. But you've had some experiences to say, it doesn't have to be that way. And I need to slow down. I need to appreciate life more. I tried to coach Little League and stuff before, but I'm literally like rushing from the office every night to get somewhere by 7, you know, to be a coach and being late and it's here. I feel like I can do a podcast because I actually now have some time. I don't have like this crazy, yes, traffic is getting, you know, bad, but it's not stifling, you know, all the time, or you figure out how to get around it. And I just feel like people are like having a second chance or third chance on life.
Yeah. That's
and
a
I
really
think
beautiful
you know
perspective.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're like, you know what, now that I have, but then what do you do with the time?
Yeah.
Do you volunteer? Yeah. Do you do this? Do you that? You could do all the things. It's like, you know, put your money where your mouth is. Or whatever.
Yeah. Where do you guys spend your time when you're not working or you're not, like, what do you spend your free time doing? Or
we are very involved in church.
Okay.
We actually have our church owns a family camp down in, what's the name of that? It's called Haleko. It's kind of near Aram. And Wendy actually, like, so we get assignment, we call them callings. And so I have responsibilities. I'm kind of, and that can change, you know, you can just, but you know, whether you're teaching or you're doing some, in her case, there's 9 different big congregations that use it. So summer camp season's coming up and they have a ropes course and they have a pond and all these things. And so it's almost like a job to ensure that thing's ready to go for all these people who are going to use it and consume it and the facilities, et cetera. But we spend a lot of time we've spent a lot of time with youth, right? Like, and there's a lot of youth people who spend time with their youth groups and setting up that activity, teaching them on Sunday, whatever. So there's that. And then now that we're grandparents, we try to spend as much time with our grandson.
Yeah. Which is so nice, you know, that they're
or whatever by. Activities and time is left. And hopefully we go on some dates and we go out for dinner. And
where's the go-to dinner spot for you guys?
Ooh, what it used to be the Mexican restaurant here by Publix, Lucia's.
Oh, Lucia's.
And that one closed down, and now there's a new one coming in.
Yeah.
Valentina's, of course. We love Valentina's. We've been on a Mexican kick lately, but I don't know if we have go-to. We like to spread it around.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been to Lola's over by Town Madison?
No, not yet. Maybe we should go there.
They have, it's Mexican is so good. So good. Like their burrito tacos are insane.
Oh, really?
Yes. They're,
I can make a good burrito.
can you? So I have some cooking in my crock pot as we speak.
Oh, you do?
I do. What is your secret?
Are you using the dried peppers?
You know,
And you rehydrate them?
why don't you tell me your secret and then I'll tell you.
The secret was, so it's the papillas. What are they? Yeah. But what are the name of the there's two peppers you use. You go to the.
Do you go and get them dried?
Yeah.
And okay, so
and then you
you
rehydrate them, and then fire tomatoes. What is it?
fire roasted tomatoes.
Fire roasted tomatoes. There's some other stuff, and you blend it, and then that's your marinade, if you will, for the burrito. And crock pot, I think is all we've ever done.
It's in the oven. Sam's the cooking guy.
Yeah, in the oven. And then what I do is I'll get my griddle out, and then dip the tortillas in the burrito, and then I'll put the meat and cheese on there.
Yep.
And then finish them off on the griddle.
Yep. So good.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Like,
fantastic.
is it just me, or they've only come into my life over the last probably 3 years? I don't.
Yeah.
Or has they always been around, or there was some trend
It
that
just got really popular.
They did get really popular, and I've seen like the burrito bombs on TikTok and all of that. So I've tried that out, but I'm obsessed. But Lola's Cucina has fantastic tacos, and their burrito tacos are really, really good. So real quick, I wanted to ask you just a little bit last question about the show too, and we're going to talk about some of the interviewees that you've had. You have talked with, and I love this, but like housing advocates, FBI agents, pizza champions, mental health therapists, sports executives, CIA officers, like crazy. Who and which industry have you not had a chance to interview that is like your, I've always wanted on the show, or someone to is there anybody kind of stand out in that capacity?
There was one, before I went on sabbatical, I wanted to have a police investigator that does cold cases. And we were trying to line it up, and then I ended up having to cancel, and then I went on sabbatical. I think that would, it kind of is like toying with the idea of what are those things I would do on a regular basis. Like if it's every month, would I want to do like have a cold case? Like what's the latest or whatever crime is going on?
Is that sort of a passion area for you? Do you?
I just know it's also more broadly, that's probably just interesting to people, right? We love our murder shows and our hospital shows and all these things. And, but it is also like, can you help solve the mystery?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Can you be that an additional outlet that gives some information to somebody to help solve this case?
Yeah.
So that's just one that I know was hanging out there. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in like anything, really everything. I'm about to interview her 97-year-old, like great second cousin who wrote this book.
Oh, wow.
He's 97 years old. And I guess he was back in the Von Braun days.
From the mules and wagon to the space shuttle.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
And he's like a space rocket guy. So
very cool. Very cool.
I'm just interested to interview someone who's, I don't know when he turns 98.
Yeah.
But he's still very sharp.
Wow.
And so that interests me
you
as much
capture all of that seasonal knowledge.
I'd like to interview like a 7-year-old like Doogie Howser, like a prodigy, like some
Doogie Howser.
You know what I mean? That would be kind of fun. I don't know. Can I ask
you a question real quick? So we're a couple years difference.
More than a couple.
I'm 40. I'll be 46 this year. You're 50.
I'm
so
50.
yeah.
Right.
But did Doogie Howser make you feel a little inadequate when you were younger?
Oh yeah, of course.
I was like, I am never going to be, and my mom would see me watching that, and I swear she'd always just be like, if only. And I'm like, sorry, I'm going to change my major 4 times. Yeah. And here's this young kid, but like loved the show, always made me feel inadequate. I don't know. Is it just me? Like,
no. And I was one of those probably thought like, forget they're actors. Like, oh yeah, he's really probably not that smart, but I thought he was.
Who doesn't love Neil Patrick Harris?
I know.
Like he's a genius. Yeah. I will follow him wherever he goes.
That's funny.
So a little bit more real quick. So I know one of the things that you have talked about in the past, and you mentioned it, you alluded to it earlier, just to touch, but how, this is a passion area of yours. And if you could turn, podcasting into a career, that would be something definitely that would be of great interest to you. What's next for our town? I know before we started airing, we have some very exciting news about what you're going to be doing locally here. So, but what's next with our town podcast, and where can people kind of anticipate things to go over the next 8 months or so?
Sure.
And big guest names that you want to talk about or that you're excited about or anything like that?
first things first. I mean, one thing I've tried to, I have a lot of pride in the quality of the production. Yes, I wish I had more money to buy like $4,000 4K cameras and all that, because you can see that even though people will say it doesn't really matter the production, but guess what? The biggest podcasts out there, these are massive budgets behind them now, you know, and so there's an element of like, can I continue to make this as high quality as possible given my constraints?
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you a challenging question.
Yeah.
Do you really think that it needs to be that high quality to compete with other?
Only at the high, like, I think everything in broadcasting is like that 1% rule.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, the 1%, you know, there's only going to be one Joe Rogan. There's only going to be one, this person, that person.
But it wasn't the quality of his cameras that made the Joe Rogan show. So
no, but I think,
successful.
so let me get to this. Let's talk about, so Channel 48, I've been working with them for a while, just on, hey, what's the possibility of running my show like on Channel 48? And they have a streaming platform that's launching this month, and mine is going to be one of those selected to run in a time slot on their platform, which is awesome.
Yeah,
so to me,
awesome.
I don't feel like if you're a TV station, you have to look at it things at a certain level of quality that you do want or don't want on your platform.
Yeah.
So at least I feel like it has to meet some standard to be beyond just me in my show. And I'll have to edit it, and it won't be the full episode. I have to do things to fit, you know, but it's very exciting to me. And that's a testament of, and this kind of goes back to like the chip on my shoulder where I didn't have parents who went and lobbied for me to be on the baseball team and to be in a starting position, to be the shortstop. I was never the coach's son. I was an all-star because I was really good. And, you know, and I didn't have anybody lobby. And I got dropped off and I got picked up, or I had to walk home. Like nobody was ever there.
Yeah.
You know? So I look at these things as, if it's going to be good, then I want it to be recognized for what it's good. And it's not just because I, you know, gave $50 million to this, and they owe me something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want it to be because it's good, and it's exceptional, and it's worthy of, you know. So it probably doesn't, but like if you're Channel 48, would you rather, now there's like all this progression in technology, do you want to see a 1080p HD camera, or do you want to see a 4K camera? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are things that that frustrate me, because then I look, you know, Mr. Beast, I heard like he spends $1,500 on a thumbnail. Every thumbnail.
But how much on a thumbnail?
$1,500.
What?
It's a lot of money when you think about it. It might even be more than that. I may be off, but like I create a thumbnail, like I use Canva.
Yeah.
And I like do some screenshots of me and whatever, and I do my best to just like create a thumbnail on my little Canva subscription, or I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
But like if you look at the what's being put into the quality of the production and it does make you wonder, like, do I have to? It's like the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Do I need to do that to be at that level? So what's next? Guest wise, I'm going to continue. I have a lot of people who refer guests to me, which is amazing. Like the Rob Hamiltons will come every now and then. He gave me a list. You need to talk to Megan, because they all knew you from Leadership Greater Huntsville, I think. You need to talk to this person. You need to talk to that person. Or I might sometimes just reach out. I reached out to Marie Waxel from Way TV, because I just see her on the news, and she seems like we saw her MC, an event, and I just reach out. Hey, would you like to come on?
Yeah. And she is like the sweetest person on the planet, like heart of gold, and she's awesome.
So if anything, it's just continue. I still enjoy, interviewing people, and I'll continue to try to look for maybe something I've not done, and continue that. And to some degree, I have to step back and say, well, what do people like?
Yeah.
What resonates with them?
Yeah. Do you solicit feedback from your listeners at all?
I try.
Do you ever...
It's hard. I honestly feel like I don't get feedback because the show's good. And this goes back to my analogy of like, it's easier to turn a friend into a fan. Or wait a minute. Is that right? A fan. It's easier to turn a fan into a friend than a friend into a fan. Like most of my family doesn't watch this. They don't care. And I get it. And that goes back to when I was doing my
mom
sports
asked
stuff.
me that. She's like, does anybody even listen to your
Yeah,
podcast?
so, like,
I'm like, well, I hope you do. No,
The people that I get when I see like comments and all this stuff, you kind of looking at it as, well, are they just making that person feel good?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you keep going,
Yeah.
versus something like, I don't write into Channel 9 or Channel 9. That's a DC reference. I don't write into Channel 48 if they do an amazing newscast.
Right. You're like, that was
And you're
amazing.
like, hey, that was so amazing that, like, no, you come to expect it. And
Yeah.
so the only way I can handle like how disappointed I get when people don't respond to a poll or I don't get any comments is just to know that people are aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come across someone and they know about it.
Yeah.
And like, okay, doesn't mean they've watched it, or hey, I watched your episode, when they watched a clip.
Yeah.
So, but then I also look at it that if it's something really, really good, then you're not really probably going to hear much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
And that's the only thing that makes me like stop from being like frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to see more feedback, but I don't get it. Like,
Well, and it's amazing how quick people are to criticize something that they had nothing to do with or put in zero effort to prepare for, right? Yeah. It's really easy to do that, especially when you're sitting behind an anonymous keyboard, you know what I mean, and whatnot. So, well, as someone who hopefully you put some weight into my opinion because we're friends, and you like me, but I think you've done a phenomenal job, and you have, again, from the time that you started our town and you decided this is what I'm going to do as a way to embrace the community, engage an organization that, doesn't have necessarily a footprint here, at least initially, and really help to tell the stories. You've done a great job at that.
Thank you.
And that the second I saw you were coming back from sabbatical, I was like, yay, our town's back.
Yeah.
I was so excited because you really have been a voice of our community in a way that has just, again, and not to be dramatic, but the untold stories, right, that people don't traditionally get. And I think we share similar stories in that, one of the reasons why we wanted to start She Boss a couple of years ago was, I found throughout my journey that there were so many amazing women in this community who are willing to put a hand out and lean in and refer and, go out of their way to support you. So as long as they knew that you weren't in it for the wrong reasons and, all of that, right? But that, to me, getting to know those journeys and really talking with these women and realizing that they're struggling just like I am, or they had, extreme hardships when they were younger and they've been able to turn that into something beautiful in a prosperous career, or they've just been able to give back to their communities in beautiful ways, right? Those stories were something that I didn't feel was really being told in a way that was approachable and attainable to just the masses like me, right? And it was so inspirational to me, which is why we started the podcast. Because I'm like, I want to tell that side of it, And I love how you're taking an approach similar to that with our town, where you're doing long form, which not a lot of people are doing. It's not very comfortable for a lot of people, frankly, but it's something that really lets you get into these different layers of a story that, is just so far beyond just that surface level, depth, which I think people are hungry for these days, So for what it's worth, I think you're killing it. And I think you have your podcast is very well known and very well respected, and something that I think a lot of people really look forward to, and no one else is doing that here in Huntsville. And there's been a lot of podcasts that have popped up over the last couple of years, but I mean, no one else is doing what you're doing, so I mean, kudos to you and keep at it. So I do want to talk about a couple of things though, because you've obviously had a couple different guests on. You've had some guests on repeat. We'd be remiss without not talking about Joe, of course, and Valentina's Pizza. And I've got a chance to get to know Joe in the past, and what an amazing story with him and his daughter
his
and
book
his business.
is right over here, right?
And
Slicing through.
Holy cow! Look at that! Wow. When does
I told him the audiobook of this is episode 22 with me, and maybe episode 50.
Oh my gosh!
If you want the audio, just listen to our episode.
I love that. Okay, so episode 22, and episode 50,
and he was on 57 or 58. He's been on 4 times.
Yeah,
but
wow.
22 is basically him walking
like really
through that
walking
book.
through the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one could make assumptions about why he kind of did that, but what was the catalyst for him deciding to start to write that book? I mean, was it just the culmination of things that he has been through throughout his career? And was there a particular thing that kind of set that off, or,
I think I know him well enough. I don't think he'd mind. I mean, I think it's like therapeutic for him.
yeah.
He's a, and he'll go through it. I mean, he cried in the episode, and there's a lot of hurt and trauma, in a way from his life, and wasn't the easiest upbringing, and divorced parents, and we talked about his dad more in episode 50, but I would say if anything, it's probably just good for him to put it on paper, and it's good for him, and that's just because I've spent enough time with them.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, it was probably just like, I just need to get this out,
Yeah.
But it's also, I'm very proud of him for like, of all the failures, and there's going to be people in this community who judge him, don't like him. He has applied all those lessons learned to Valentina's, and he's killing it.
Yeah.
And so he's in a good spot. And when we interview, and he'll talk about something, I'll say, now, Joe, are your friends and telling you don't do it, Joe? Because too many times in the past, he did it anyway, and it got him in trouble.
Oh.
And he had good friends and advisors say, don't do it, Joe, don't do it. And he does it anyway. So when I'm up, I'm talking to him, I feel like I know him well enough now. I can say, I hear what you're saying. You want to, and he just announced he's going to open a new restaurant. Is this the right thing? Mm-hmm. Do you have people telling you that you respect, like Tony Gimignani? Like, are they saying don't do it or do it? So he has now surrounded himself with good support.
Yeah.
And he's made some mistakes in the past, and it kind of goes back to who can you trust and all that, where you feel like you can trust a business partner and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And you're like, crap, what happened? How did I not see that happen? So, I think if mostly, I think it's mostly for him.
Yeah. What has captivated you with Joe as an individual that's warranted a fourth spot on your podcast?
Well, let me tie together. Just finish the thought earlier. So what do I want for our town? I want this to be, if something happens and is happening, I want this to be as current as possible. Like if you want to come on and promote something because Flourish is going to do something tomorrow, I would love for you to promote it and talk about it here today, now. Like Renee, I'm going to have her on May 19th. I had thought about maybe having it live because it's election day. Like that's a cool time to talk to the mayor.
Yeah,
it's on election day. She and I, when I talked to her in an interview the first time when she was in city council, we talked about how important it is to vote in your local elections and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to try to line things up more that way, where like the guest has something exciting that they're promoting, or they're in town. If Snoop Dogg comes here, and it used to be like they would go on the radio circuit.
This is where it's at.
Yeah, like let's have the podcast.
When do you
like,
have room for Snoop Dogg here? Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, I grew up on Howard Stern and all these other where like you went in on, when you're in New York, you do Stern, you do Letterman, whatever. When you're in LA, you do Leno. That's just what you do. Or Fallon's in LA, right? But I want that for here.
You do.
Okay. I want our town to be, if someone's coming, it doesn't matter who it is. This is a podcast that you should come on, that everyone will watch, or whether to see what you say.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally
does.
does.
So if I was to tie that to what you were just asking me, why did I bring that up?
Joe. With Joe.
Oh, with Joe. Well, I had him on the first time because Joe Denoto, good friend of mine, gave me 25 guests to talk to, and a lot of the first guests, including Rob Hamilton, including oh my gosh, sometimes names escape me. Like probably 10 of my first 30 guests were all from Joe Denoto, and Joe was one of them. So I interviewed Joe Carlucci. Well, I had him on in episode 50 because it was a milestone episode, and I thought, okay, I've become friends with this guy. I hit episode 50. I'd like to have him on. Well, then I had him back on right away because he won Pizza Maker of the Year in 2023, and he named that pizza Our Town on his menu. So the Our Town is named after the podcast. And so then now we're like, and my kids both work. My son Dylan works there. My daughter-in-law works there.
Really?
And,
I didn't know that.
So
is Our Town pizza still on the menu?
Yeah.
What's on it? What are the toppings?
It's the ricotta cheese, the sausage. It's good.
Okay.
Ask for the hour talent.
Did you have a hand in any of those ingredients at all?
No, because that was when you did the competition in Vegas, they say, here's your ingredients, and your secret ingredient is like ricotta cheese or something, and he had to make it in 30 minutes.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he is the kind of guy who comes back from something like that, and he expects the media to be like covering it.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah.
And so what I did was, it was actually live.
Mm-hmm.
He had got off an airplane like 10 hours before and said, you're going to be in my studio Monday morning, and you're going to like break the news to everybody that you just won.
Love it.
And he can't compete ever again because he's won everything.
Oh my God.
So,
you gotta love that when like you're like, I can't compete anymore because I've won them all.
And then I had him back on after sabbatical, because it was just one of those guests to help me get back in the flow.
Yeah.
And then update on, hey, what's going on? And you know, and then actually I had Cameron, his GM on. Mm-hmm. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, kudos to Joe and Valentina's and Cameron and everything that they're doing over there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're doing good.
Their pizza is fantastic. Fantastic.
I call it, it's just remarkable.
It is like the dough. I'm like, I don't know what you do to your dough, but it's...
Just listen to it. He'll tell you.
It is fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Okay. So one of the things that has really fascinated me about some of the conversations you've had, you have a theory, a cloned messenger theory, and a theory that has come up a couple different times in talking with some former FBI guys and CIA guys and stuff like that. And you've believed since you were a little kid that we are not alone,
Oh, yeah.
And so there's actually a story that I have that I've only told a very few amount of people who I can trust. And we talked about earlier, like safe space, all of that. But I have a memory when I was a kid that has too instilled that thought that no matter what, we are not alone in this universe, and that there are other beings and forces out there, we're foolish to think that we are the only ones, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, being in, the Rocket City, home of NASA, and all of the exploration and just discussions that happen here on a regular basis, like how in the world could we potentially think that we are? But this is something that you've talked about a lot on your shows, and I'm genuinely really curious about it and curious about sort of your perspective and how that's been influenced over time. And I would love for you to share some of the things that you've sort of discovered just throughout your career and personal life that have kind of helped shape that, that narrative a little bit for you. And just want to talk about it, frankly, because I think it's a really interesting topic and something that, could be somewhat controversial depending on where you sit, but something that for me personally is fascinating. And I would just love to hear you kind of talk a little bit about that. And again, I know this has come up like in pieces kind of throughout different interviews. So maybe if you can kind of set the stage a little bit and just talk about it. And that way we have a full picture of kind of where you sit, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, it's all derives from a religious perspective, but I also use a lot of logic to try to explain to people who like what God is. And like a lot of times we'll say things, but then it's like, what you say that God is eternal, but have you really thought, like, what does that mean? So I believe that we were created by a God, and that is eternal. And this is where it gets hard for people to wrap their human minds around, like that when there's no beginning and there's no end and stuff like that. Well, yeah. But okay, but how did he progress to where he was, where he. And then you look at science now. You can even go to the Space and Rocket Center and watch it. Like, we now know that there's 30 billion galaxies. Like, it's endless. So the universe is endless. Mm-hmm. Endless. Logic would tell me, just logic, that if you have an endless thing, and we can't even like explore our own galaxy, right? We only can go so far, that there has to be other life out there. Particularly if I feel like it's not just a God. There's this is his world, that he's created. Mm-hmm. His son, Jesus Christ is his son, right? You get into that. You look at the pre-existence where a plan was presented and 66, 2/3 of the host of heaven agreed, and they will all be here and have had a body and born at some point. The other third didn't, right? They followed Satan. So that's just fundamentally. So the thing that's hard for people to wrap their brain around is the other gods that may be out there or the other worlds that may be out there, right? That's deep. That's deep water for people. But for me, it's like, it's to make it simple. Well, it has to be, so the thing that's what's, people, there's this alien spacecraft, and okay, maybe. And we've joked around when I had Rich Hoffman on from we were talking about, aliens and stuff. Like, well, I don't know what they're interested in, but I don't think that other people are going to look just like us, because I think we all came from a God that looks like us. We're created in his likeness and his image. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're always, unless they've created AI, or what we don't know is like maybe how much more advanced these other places are. Mm-hmm. We've only been here for so many thousands of years, and we just now in the last 100 years have gotten technologically advanced, right? So maybe there's other places just much more advanced, and they figured things out. Maybe there's these, it doesn't matter what the alien looks like or aircraft, or like the question, like, what are they interested in? Why are they here? Mm-hmm. Those are things you can't really answer, but there is no doubt in my mind that we are not alone. And I don't know, like, that's sometimes a really hard thing to explain to people. Yeah. And it also just comes to then like, well, and I think maybe some of that's also when you don't have a mother and a father in a way that you grow up and you're so tied to, it's a lot easier for me to then reach out to others that, particularly a God, where you want to have a relationship with in the absence of what you're missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did religion play a heavy role for you when you were growing up as a kid?
Yeah.
That was always at the foundation of your life.
I remember like people, like I just knew of him when I was probably 4 or 5. You look into the sky and you feel loved. Yeah. Yeah. You feel like there's a heavenly Father that loves you, and you're here for a purpose that you'll figure out.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, has your experience working in the CIA helped shape this in a direction one way or another?
No. I mean, not from that perspective. I just find it comical at times, just the fight that science has with whatever. But it seems like more and more science is kind of like, like you're discovering the limitless. Like there's no limit to the universes and all. Like, it doesn't just stop. It's kind of like the world. The world's not flat. Okay, it's round. Yeah. Well, it also does not like this wall that you hit somewhere. That you hit the end of the unit. Like, and that's hard for us to wrap our brain around. Right. It really is. Right. They're here. Okay, and you want to go down and get them? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, not at the CIA. Like, and I was in technology. I wasn't like Sean Wiswesser, who was the guest I just had on, who was more of an operational guy. But yeah, there's nothing there that I was ever exposed to, and even if I was, like, okay, yeah, it wouldn't like change or alter me in any way.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious about that. Okay, we're gonna wrap because I know I want to be mindful of time, but I have a couple of quick questions for you that I thought would be kind of fun. So, well, first things first, I'm curious if there's anything that stands out to you as far as interview questions that you wish you would have asked. And you don't have to necessarily say the guest, but if there was a topic that was discussed where you're like, it's just sort of this burning thing that maybe surfaces every once in a while when you're thinking about past interviewees, or, a topic that came up that, and you don't have to say the person, but like what that was that really caught you off guard, or if there was just a burning question that you really wanted to ask that you never got a chance to. Does anything stand out to you in that regard?
Let me talk while I think about that. But sometimes I just wish that I would press a little bit harder on certain guests. Again, this isn't like a political show necessarily, and the reason is I don't really share my opinion unless I feel like I am 100% factually able to like offer that opinion. Yeah. And working at the CIA is one where there's stuff on the news and there's stuff that I've had access to and read in like cable traffic that will never hit the news, where there's not the full story. It's not always out there, right? Mm-hmm. The full story is stuff you'll never hear the full story. So I've just always approached things from that. Like, I'm not going to just share my opinion because I know that I'm not hearing the full story on this thing or that thing, unless I am 100% convicted in something, then I will absolutely share or just experienced it in life, right? as to why I feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just feel like, I wish I would have just pushed back a little bit more when they made that statement. And again, it's not like you're right or you're wrong, but I just wanted you to expound more, you know, and maybe sometimes push back, or at least just play devil's advocate and think a little. Sometimes I miss something you say because I'm also paying attention to something else, or I'm thinking about the next question. And that's hard when you're the only one running this.
Yeah.
Is that I will just miss things.
Right. Right.
And I get irritated when I miss a point. And then I'm like, I should have followed up on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably it. It's just when I'm distracted.
Get a little bit distracted. Yeah. Well, you do a great job of the follow-up. There's no doubt about that. Okay. Well, if there isn't anything that comes to mind,
we get through everything you wanted to?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the big thing. I was going to ask you to do 2 truths and a lie about Troy By. I think that would be fun. And then I can kind of try to guess what they might be, but I didn't send you interview questions. And so let's try it. Let's do two truths and a lie to close it out.
Okay.
Give you just a minute to think about that.
Okay, let's see. I won the spelling bee. I tried out to be a model. And I tried out for the circus on like a unicycle and juggling.
I don't believe that one.
That's the lie.
But you did win the spelling bee.
Oh,
Do you remember your winning
so
word?
proud.
Do you remember what it was?
It was, you know what? No, I remember losing the next round on the word exhilarate.
Oh, it's that H.
It's that H.
It's that dang H.
I went to the region. There was 110 elementary schools, and I finished like 101st because exhilarate, and I didn't know how to an H in it. But I was very proud of winning in 6th grade.
Yes, that's a big deal.
And then, and I did, to my brother's practical joke, did try to be a model.
What kind of model?
He convinced me, like I was 18. And again, this is like the brother I didn't really know that well. So like I said, I didn't know when he was joking. We're talking on the phone. He was living in LA. And I was like, I need a job. He's like, you know what? Think out of the box. You know, our cousin Justin, he modeled for JCPenney like when he was 9, you know. Okay, yeah. He's like, you can do it. Believe in yourself. It's like, you know what? You're right. So I go in the yellow pages or the newspaper and I find this modeling agency. It's like 1994. And I call and make an appointment. And I show up. There's 2 parts of the story that's funny. One, I went to the wrong suite. So I go in, and this lady's like, hey, are you Kevin? I'm like, no, I'm Troy. Oh, it's fine. James will be right with you. I'm like, oh, okay. So the guy comes, and he's like, hey, are you Kevin? No, Troy. Yeah, whatever. Come back. So we go through these curtains, and then it's like a call center. Like, I've come to the wrong place. And he's like, all right, so we have a swing shift. We have midnight shift. You get $3 differential.
Doesn't matter what your name is.
And I'm like, I had to stop him and say, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. I'm looking for the modeling agency. And he's like, it's upstairs. And I said, if this doesn't work out, can I come back? Can I still get a job? So then I go upstairs.
I mean, now that we already know each other.
Now I'm even more nervous because they relaxed my nerve thinking like, hey, no problem. We're glad you're here. Now I'm nervous again. And I walk into this thing and it's like,
they didn't call you Kevin, did they?
No, but it's like the waiting room. It's like a waiting room, like a doctor's office. And it's kids' day. These kids are like 4 and 5 years old, and they're all wearing like their Sunday best.
Oh my god!
And they're sitting, you know, with their feet can't touch the ground, and they're holding their little portfolios. I got no portfolio. I don't remember what I wore, but like, I'm like, I should just walk out right now. And the lady's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have an appointment." She's like, "Okay," and so I should just take a seat. We'll be right with you. I'm like, "Okay." So then, like, you know, they call back this kid and that kid, and you can hear the cameras going off, you know. And, this is great. Yeah. So then the guy comes out. He goes, all right, Troy? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, ooh. Like, I'm literally, like, getting
That's
out.
What he said?
Yeah, I'm getting out of my chair. He goes, ooh, hey, we'll be in touch.
Are you serious? That is awful.
I was like.
Oh, my God. You just weren't what they were looking for.
Not that day. I wasn't.
You know what? Forget them. Who needs
so
modeling?
I go home and like at some point I call my brother and he was like, I wasn't being serious. I was like, I was trying to believe in myself.
Oh my gosh,
you know,
Troy.
Man. But yeah, the guy goes, ooh.
I think you would make a great model. I think you'd make a great model.
Yeah.
You make a great model for our Down podcast.
Thank you.
You know,
I'll make my own catalog.
There you go. catalog. Today's day and age is all about authenticity and storytelling and really leaning into your own self. People don't want to deal with the bots. They want to deal with real people just like you and
That's
I,
right.
right? So
That's right.
Who needs that? But that's hysterical. And that was a perfect note to end on. So
I
here's
did
to
it.
your modeling career, maybe another life.
I should have said, can we take at least a couple shots?
You know
It's like
what, though?
something
I
to
mean, who
prove.
needs the ego that comes along with that? That might have been a
It was
little
probably
too
was
much.
because it was like regular film back. There wasn't even digital photography, so they didn't want to waste their exposures on me. But if it was digital, maybe I could have gotten away with
Maybe. They'd have been like, we'll just erase those. Yeah.
No,
Well,
thank you.
Troy, this has been amazing having you as a guest on your own show.
Thank you.
And I have to thank you very, very much for the opportunity.
This is the
I am
he-boss.
honored. This is the he-boss version.
The
That's
he-boss
right.
version.
That's right. But it's been awesome, and you're just the best. And
Thank you.
I just love you dearly, and kudos to everything you're doing in our community. Keep it up. You got a huge, huge fan. You too, Wendy.
Thank you, Megan.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about you because before sabbatical, at some point I remember you texted me like, I just want to let you know that your show is now in my rotation for like
Heck
when I'm
yeah.
cleaning the house. I'm like, I wonder if after sabbatical she still does
I
that.
love
But
that. Are you kidding me? I'm subscribed. I listen to it all the time. When
Awesome.
it comes out, I'm like, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it's great. And I love to hear that when you have when you had Christy Fenley on,
Yeah.
and you guys were like talking about how much you both love yard work and mowing the lawn and all of that, which just
The Dukes of Hazzard.
Is she not a hoot? Like
That
she
was good.
is so funny. But I love hearing the stories that you don't traditionally get when you're out and about with someone. You just do a great job.
Well,
of that, so.
thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of these guests were on your show, so it gives me a chance to do some research and give you a shout out.
You bet. You bet. All right. I guess we'll see you guys
All
next
right.
time. We're
Thank you,
out.
Megan.
Thank you, Troy.